everybody, this is Jim Prusak from the Pain PT, and today we're going to go over another version of somatic tracking, a little longer practice, and I want to give a little primer here, but I'm going to kind of term this or title this a little bit differently than just somatic tracking. I'm going to call this process letting it come and letting it go. And what I want to do is just give you a little sort of primer on it so that you can have this in your mind as you're doing the practice. Now, letting it come and letting it go, what this means is that we're always generating thoughts, we're always generating feelings and sensations constantly from our brain into our bodies. And so this is a process that will go on for us until the day we die. And what we want to do when we have somatic complaints or issues or problems, or we have obsessive thoughts, or we have uncomfortable feelings, is we want to learn to actually allow them to come in and also allow them to go. Now, the things that we typically do are we don't do that. So if you can imagine, here comes a thought, here comes a feeling, or here comes a symptom. Let's say that's one of those three things: thoughts, emotional feelings, and physical symptoms. So here it comes. We notice it, or we start to notice it. Now, what people do typically are two things. One thing is on the front end is that we don't let it come. We put up this block here. Okay, so this hits a resistance point or a wall. This is called suppression or repression if we don't know we're even doing it. So we try to stop and push back an obsessive thought, a negative thought, unwanted thought, an uncomfortable emotion that we don't want to feel, a sort of uncomfortable physical sensation or symptom we don't want to feel. So it's coming in, we put up a blockage point and we push it back or push it down. That's called suppression, or even worse, repression if we're not conscious of it. Now, this research shows when you suppress your thoughts and feelings and even your physical symptoms, they actually get worse. So we think that we're helping ourselves, and maybe in the short term we are, by sort of suppressing or pushing down what's coming up that we don't want. But in the long term, we're actually making it worse. Okay, so that speaks to letting it come. So what's coming through you, through your brain and body, essentially through your awareness, you want to let it come. Okay, so here it comes this way. And we're going to drop this resistance. We're going to drop this suppression or repression. Let it come in. Okay, so here it is. Now, the other thing we do is we don't let it go where it leaves us. So if we're letting it actually come in and we're not suppressing it or repressing it, when it gets to us, a lot of times what we do is we start to, what I call, loop it. We start to overanalyze it, overthink it. Now, there's a saying, overanalysis is paralysis. Okay, so we start to get into thinking mode, or we start to twist it, we start to manipulate it, we start to rationalize it, we start to do something with it in our minds instead of just being with it as it is, whatever that is, that thought, that emotional feeling, that physical symptom. Okay, so we start to do things like rumination. We start to catastrophize. We think negatively about it. We start to do all these things that, again, start to make it worse. We start to loop it so it gets stronger. It doesn't actually just come here and pass through and leave our awareness. It comes and stays with us for a while. Okay, so people with chronic pain, chronic anxiety, obsessive compulsive thinking, these are all manifestations of the mind and the body. So all of them are trying to let this stuff sort of, again, come in, be unimpeded, and go. What is this called? This is called the stream of consciousness. This is your stream or river flowing through you. Okay, it consists of thoughts, emotional feelings, and physical sensations or symptoms for some people. We want your flow to be unimpeded. We want to let it move through you. We want to let it come and then we want to see it. So here it comes. We actually acknowledge it. What is this? Thought, feeling, symptom. And then we consciously let it go. Now, when we're doing this somatic tracking, what we're doing is we're bringing some conscious awareness to what we notice. Okay, so this is the other important ingredient to the practice, is that all we're doing is noticing or becoming aware of what's happening in us. Okay, it could be a physical sensation again, emotional feeling, or mental thought. And we're pulling back and we're seeing this go by. Okay, now if you didn't see this thing go by, this thought, feeling, symptom, you would be in it. Okay, so when you're inside something, you can't see it. There's no separation. That means you're unconscious. You're not conscious of what's happening. So the ingredient here, the most important ingredient for all this work, is to become conscious, to become aware, mindful of what's happening. That is the separation that allows it to pass. Okay, so it's like sitting on the bank of your own river, watching the river go by, or I say watching your own movie go by, or watching your own ticker tape on a screen go by. Okay, ticker tape on a news channel is doing this constantly. We don't want to pause it, okay, because then it gets stuck. We don't want to rewind the ticker tape or movie, because then we never let it play out. And we also don't want to skip over it, fast forward it, okay, which is what we do to avoid it. When we do those things, it's not being acknowledged, it's not being processed. Okay, all we've got to do is realize what's happening here is just a thought, it's just a feeling, it's just a sensation, it's not dangerous. None of those three things are dangerous, especially with TMS. When we rule out physical issues, the sensations or symptoms are not dangerous. They're the same things as thoughts and feelings. Your physical symptoms are your thoughts and feelings with TMS, with mind-body conditions, with somatization. Your physical symptoms are the same thing as your thoughts and emotional feelings. No different. So we can let all those things just move through us. Our goal is to just keep allowing this stream of consciousness, this river, to continue to move through you, where it doesn't get stuck, or we don't put up this dam again, right? We put up this dam which backs everything up and makes it stronger. So you want to try to just keep opening to what is, letting it come, letting it go, whatever is there. Now your mindfulness, your self-awareness, your consciousness is the key to this. It's also, when you're coming from mindfulness and consciousness, it's a neutral place where there's no judgment of what's happening. In fact, what you want to be doing is perceiving what's happening as okay. That's really, really important. So a thought, an emotional feeling, and a physical symptom, all three are okay. You have to come from this mental premise or this mindful place of okayness. Otherwise, you're putting a negative bent on it, and that's not mindfulness. Okay, that's you having a judgment against what you notice. So I want you to see if you can drop your judgment and come to a place of being okay with what's happening. Now, being okay is also just being the witness or being the observer of what's happening. All right, so that's step one. Step two is to let what's coming come in and let it go from a place that it's okay. Those are the ingredients for a successful practice that you can bring each day and become a different person, really. You really become a different person because you're not getting stuck, stagnated. You're opening to what's really true for you, your true thoughts, your true feelings, your true symptoms, and you're not doing any work. You don't have to do anything about it other than just let it come and go. Okay, so it doesn't stick around or grow in size. Okay, so that's a practice. We're going to go ahead and do the practice now, but come back to this little intro because it's really important to have your foundation set. while you're doing the practice so it can be successful for you. Reach out if you have questions or you need help with this. This is a foundational practice, it's a way of living, and it can change who you are. Okay, take care, everybody.